Thank you for stopping by. Today I will show you how to make something you want, but cannot find, using existing models. I wanted a Star Trek style automatic door, but I am realistic, so I settled on 3D printing a Star Trek doorstop instead. The only problem was that I could not find a model ready to print on Thingiverse, Things, or any other site I usually go to find models. I am not great at creating 3D models and hate wasting time designing and modeling something already on the interwebs. To create the Star Trek themed doorstop, I searched several sites for a doorstop model and a communication badge from Star Trek, specifically, a badge from the Picard series. Since I could find both available items, I could download them and get them into Tinkercad, which is free. Sometimes files are too large and cannot be imported into Tinkercad, and you may have to use an alternative like MeshMixer or Blender. I can use those other platforms, but Tinkercad is the easiest, so I always check to see if I can import into Tinkercad first. After merging the two items into a model, I was satisfied and printed it on my Ender 3 Pro. I used white PLA filament, with an infill density of 25%, the tree supports touching the build plate, and a layer height of 0.12. I chose the smaller layer height to reduce the time spent sanding down the layer lines, which cost me extra print time. I laid it on its side in the slicer software to reduce the amount of support material. Laying it on its side also ensured that the area that has supports touching it would be accessible to sand during post-processing. Here I wanted to make sure that the edges of the badge did not go past the edge of the wedge. This will prevent needing extra support material and make it easier to print. Do not forget to combine the two models so when you import it into your slicer, it is a single object. Here, I am trying to make sure the model is as flat as possible and touching the build plate. Next, I will show you how I get the doorstop from the printer bed to what you see on the screen now. Fair warning. The new camera I used must have had some settings that needed to be adjusted. The videos seem like they are at a slow speed. The result was not pretty when I tried to speed them up in the editing software. Instead of making the video go faster, it would simply reduce the duration and skip a bunch of frames. Because I limited the area where the supports touch the model, there will not be much to sand and fill. The rest of the model is smooth and will only need a light sanding. Post-processing 3D prints is the best way to get your item to not look like a 3D printed part. There are some items and filaments that look great without any paint. This item, however, needs to be dressed up a little. The first step was eliminating layer lines, especially on the badge itself. The steps I always follow to remove as many imperfections as possible are: Step 1. Sand it down, starting with 80 to 120 grit sandpaper and working my way up to 600 grit. Step 2. Wash the item to remove dust and let it dry. Step 3. Add a couple of coats of primer, then let dry for at least 24 hours. Step 4. Sand the primer with 600 grit sandpaper, wash when finished, and let dry. Step 5. Fill remaining imperfections with Bondo Spot putty, or wood, putty and let cure. Step 6. Sand putty smooth, then rinse and dry. Step 7. Paint with base paint and let dry for at least 24 hours. Step 8. Mask and paint detail areas allowing for proper drying times. Step 9. Sometimes, I add a clear coat, but only if the paint takes it. In this case, the silver metallic paint I used was recommended against using a clear coat. Once I finished painting the doorstop, I realized that the door I would use it on was a smooth floor, so I picked up some 3M non-slip padding to put on the bottom. This worked out great. One thing I will change on the next project is the type of painter's tape that I used. I was not happy with what the tape did to the paint finish when it was removed. So maybe I will try some regular blue, painter's tape. If you have had good results with a particular masking tape brand, let me know. Lastly, always give credit where it is due, like I have in the description. I will also post this model on thingiverse.com as a remix of both models used. The link to this door stop is in the description, if you want to try this print. If you have any questions, recommendations, or tips and tricks you would like to share, please post them in the comments section. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe to see more. I am working on a Hulk sculpture and sword project that I will post soon. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.